Hey guys, I want to do something I don't usually do, but I see other people do it. Figured, you know what? Let me give you guys my thoughts on this concept of if I had $1,000, I was going to start a new portfolio and doing for just this bull run. How would I do it and why? So, a couple quick little things. One, I'm very likely going to do similar videos for if I had $5,000 and $10,000 and to put in, and they're going to be different strategies. FYI, I'm not just going to repeat the same thing. My goal is to actually give two different styles of strategies for if I was investing into starting over with this. I will give a couple of names of crypto, but I also kind of want to do more of describing why I would choose those crypto because if I say something like Solana, it can also be anything similar to Solana, right? In this case, it could be XRP, it could be Ethereum, it could be maybe even things like HBAR, depending on market size and everything. We'll get into that. So I will have a few names for stuff, but the exact crypto I would do after the initial, meaning I would buy certain things, and then, spoiler alert, there would be transferring profits somewhere else to compound. Those I wouldn't know as much because it's going to change a lot as the market goes on. So I'll give again examples and thoughts of the market cap, the narratives, and that kind of stuff of how I would move into it. And for the purpose of this video, my goal would be to get to from 1,000 to essentially $10,000. That magic 10x everyone looks for. And if you like the approach I end up giving, realize you don't have to continue. I like me personally, I'll take a 3 to 5x all day long. It's worked really well for me, and it's pretty easy to me to repeat. But everyone wants to see a 10x, right? So what I will not do is say just pick a random microcap shitcoin, throw your money into it, pray to whatever god or gods you believe in, and see how it goes. Not the strategy I would go. None of this is financial advice, but I would recommend having a better plan than that. So I have a very basic chart or a graph I'll come up and just to show so that we can follow with me as I talk a little bit more. But let's kind of get into if I started a new portfolio right now with $1,000, what are the two methods I could end up going? One that I think is, we'll call it safe in terms of crypto, right? You can always lose your money on the fly, blah, blah, blah. You guys should know this. And the other one's a more aggressive plan, which you are, if I followed through with, be more likely to lose, but the reward would be a lot larger. So let's get into these concepts of how I would do this right now. So the first thing I would end up doing, $1,000, I would put it into two or three crypto, large caps that you're confident would 2 to 5x. In this case, I would probably pick three, right? And I think three very easy and confident ones that I would have to spread down a little bit is Ethereum and Solana. And then I would jump a little bit more on the risky side and go Avalanche. Uh, Ethereum, I think, has realistically a 2.5 to 3x left it can do. Right? Solana, I think, has realistically closer to a 3 to 5x it can do. Avalanche, I think it realistically has a 5 to 8x it can do. You realize they're all layer ones, right? The reason why I like these and why I think they're so freaking safe comparatively is other projects build on them. So as other projects do well, those do well. So I'm very confident in these three. Again, this is my personal plan or pseudo plan, what I would do. And as long as you guys understand the thought process, that's what I care about for this. So if I put if I put a third, $333 into each of those, I would wait until they 2 to 4x so I can get an average of 3x. Right? And then at that point, I'm sitting at $3,000, pull $1,000 out. I'm very big on once I get my 3 to 5x initially, I remove a portion out to cover my initial investment. The first rule to me in crypto investing is one, don't lose money. Right? This then follows with make money, and tertiary is get the amount of money that your goal was. And I'm very strict on making that happen. Let me pull this graph so I can explain a little bit more, though pretty easy so far, right? You don't have to do these three. You don't have to do anything I say. But roughly, have $1,000, put a third into each. They will not all hit their goals at the same time, right? Like I would actually expect of these Solana, if I'm looking for in this example, I'd look for roughly a 4x, a 2x, a 5x, right? That's where I would go. It'd get me a little over 3x from this approach, get me close to 4, right? But I always want a little bit extra wiggle room, right? Just in case the market doesn't play the way I want it to. And so whenever each of those hits the goal, start pulling it out. If Ethereum hits the three, we'll call it 3x first, cool. I'm selling at least a third of it. In this example, I would probably sell all of it, get my $1,000 from it, bank it, my investment's safe. And then as the next ones pop off, I'm looking for my at least $1,000 here, $1,000 here, minimum. I could raise that to 1,200 or 1,500 specifically for Avalanche because I think that one has the most room to go, though it's also very likely to come later. Solana, we're expecting an ETF in October. I think that's what's going to make it pop up around that eight. I think it's going to start the peak up until $700 to $900 range. And when that comes, I've got $2,000 to play with, $2,000 to $3,000, right? Depending on when you pull it out. And I would then put half of it into a medium cap and half of it into a much smaller cap. Again, this is to diversify. So at this point, you've already made your money back. You cannot lose. And now it's how risky do you want to get? You can cash all of it and be up $2,000 and be happy, right? But for this example, I want more. So what are some medium caps I would look at? So again, this varies a lot depending on where we are at that time of the market. But anything from SUI, which could have been a safe one to put here too, to be honest, or this would be other ones probably in the top 100, maybe 150. So ones I like, right? Quant, HBAR, Ondo, XLM I would put in that category. Render, there's so many, right? Anything that's around like an 800 million to $2 billion market cap is where I'm looking at for this case. And that would put the rest into small caps, but I'm going for more safe here. So I'd be going for small caps that I am more confident in. And depending where you go small, I wouldn't go degenerate small, but even just things like Arrow or Aptos, right? I would also probably fit in either category, but I'd be very confident those are going to go up. Go a little bit more degen maybe on one of them and go for something that's under 300 million. Maybe a meme, maybe a good safe one like Turbo or Toshi or Whiff, Bonk, ones that a lot of people talk about likely to go up. So to clarify this a little easier, let's go in a perfect hypothetical situation. I put 333 in each. They all turn into 1,000. I bank 1,000. I'm now up 2,000, right? I put 500 into each, 2 here, 2 here. If they then 3x, I'm now looking at 1,500 from 4 different crypto, giving me $6,000 now from that 1,000. Okay, I would be happy right there from going 1,000 to 6,000. Yes, you have to pay the tax man, keep that in mind. But what I would probably realistically do in this situation, take half of that 3,000 and I would bank it. With the other 3,000, I now have 1,500 to put into 2 different cryptos that have either had a huge correction from the market and went down, or new ones. And then at that point, all we really have to look for is a 2x, and we have our 10K. Hopefully that made sense. It's really just take some money, divide it into 3, get it to 3x, take your initial investment, divide what's left into 4, get each of them to 3x, bank half of it, do that one more time on a smaller scale. And so it ends up being just a couple different swing trades. You make 12,000 from this, that would cover the tax man. You'd be down to about that 10 grand that you want. There's also a more aggressive approach that you can get. Again, if I was doing this or recommending this to a close friend or family member, that's the direction I would go. If I was going more aggressive, I would still start the same way, right? I would put a third into Ethereum, Solana, and AVAX. Again, there's other options too, right? XRP, anything in the top 25 is probably where I would look. Maybe expand a little bit riskier, but I wouldn't go outside the top 100 in this case. Look for a 3x from each. I just wouldn't bank anything. Up to 3,000, make $3,000, roll it right in. I would put half of that into your lower medium cap plays. Aerodrome would be a strong one for me. Maybe Ondo, depending where it's going. Aptos, again, these are ones I like. I own Arrow. It's the only one that I own of those groupings. Cody would be a good option to me. And then the other half, not going degenerate, but ones that are a little bit more speculative. And if they blast, and I'm looking at gaming specifically because it's been so underperforming, guys, right? Like Beam, I would really like. Illuvium, one that I do own. Maybe Moonwell, the lending protocol for base, right? Because I think base is going to do very well. Those are much smaller, all around the 200 million, a little bit below, but they have a lot more growth potential. I would expect a 5 to 10x from each of those. And we can get to our goal of past $10,000 far quicker. So now let me know if that made sense to you guys, or if my ADD was way too sporadic on that one, and if I'd have to write out more specifically for everyone to follow. But the main point of this is you don't need a lot of money to make a decent amount of money, right? At this point in the market, having 1,000 to start would be a lot better chance of success than having like 500 and adding 100 in or 50 in every week. So do not put in more than you can afford to lose. That should be common sense, but that's where a lot of fear comes from, is people realizing they're over leveraged. And try not to have an expectation of how quickly things are supposed to happen, because that also makes us incredibly emotional. And I see people do a lot of dumb shit when that happens. So let me know if this was useful to you guys, if it was a little too sporadic, if you thought, why the heck would I only look for a 10x from $1,000? Just dump it in me. Let me know your thoughts down below. And if this came out well enough, or I get enough positive feedback, constructive criticism, I'm always down for. I'll make a 5K and a 10K plan, because I very well might do something like that near the end of the cycle for myself as a little bit of an experiment. I got a couple of those things in mind for later. But let me know what you guys think. Thank you for being here. I'll see you guys all again soon. Peace.